Okay, we'll go down here into Tertium. To dread fire even when one is freezing. To become a prisoner of one's fear. 'Tis a fate to which a void sent too can succumb. Aye. See, you get it. Oh, it's Ulysses' voice. Of all the things. Sure, we'll just go with that for now. I think he has a little bit of a lilt, but I don't totally recall. I did just see some absolutely emotionally devastating fan art of Jullus, though, that I retweeted over my Twitter, which is @rookery_, ROOKURI. At the point that you would, at any point, watch this eventually in the future, maybe it won't be recently up on my feed, but there's this beautiful piece that I saw of him and one of his lines in Endwalker, where he says something like, if we had believed in your gods, would they have said, oh, and I was just like, well, my feelings for this side character have once again reignited. Like, such a lovely story with him as a character, and in some of the stuff that you see with him, even for him just being a supported character in the game. I have taken the liberty of explaining our objective. I knew you wouldn't be able to stay away. I am glad to see you, Arden. Vrtra has explained our present dilemma. 'Tis no unfounded concern that the Garleans might take poorly to the reactivation of the Tower of Babil. That's putting it mildly. Many would be up in arms over it. We'll stick with that for Jullus, sure. Trust in the Ilsabard contingent is fragile enough. We need to tread lightly, or we risk jeopardizing everything we've achieved. Trust again. Anybody got ideas? Anybody? Well, it seems to me there's not for it but to speak with the people. Rather than harping on about the necessity of the plan, we need to lend an ear to their concerns. Then, perhaps, we can begin working towards a compromise. In that case, I'll take you to meet the community leaders. They're at a station called Senatus, near the Cenaculum Imperialis. I would be honored to speak with them, though it would be prudent to learn where people elsewhere stand as well. But that I will leave to the others, save Zero. Might you accompany me? I'm sure those in Tapper's Den will have their own opinions. Alphino, if I may drag you along. Tertium we leave to you. You are no stranger to the people here, so it should take little prodding to convince them to speak freely. Then it's settled. Once you've learned what you can, let's all meet in Form Solius, where we'll have what I hope is a productive discussion. We'll see! We'll see! They've had a lot of post-Endwalker stuff set here in Garlemald, because obviously there was so much that needed to be wrapped up here. One of the things that I do think is kind of tough, though, is this zone. It's interesting, right? Like, especially when you first go through it, and all of the story in Endwalker, that bleak setting, that hopeless backdrop, this discussion of these very difficult, but people who have been forged in the harshest of conditions, if that makes sense, in a culture that has given them little choice but to kind of follow in the footsteps of the people that control their society or dictate, you know, their rules of survival in a world that had been hostile to them in the past. Not to say that they're like absolved of all crimes, because they did a lot of stuff that was really bad, but that's the whole nuanced discussion, right? So this zone I think serves really well in those regards, but it is tough because once you get through Endwalker, I feel like this is one of those zones where that sense of life in it feels more stagnant, if that makes sense. Like, you would think, from what we know of the Garlean Empire and of the city, the scale of it would just be so much bigger. And in our minds, we can, you know, imagine that. But in my mind, I imagine that there are probably refugee camps spread out throughout Garlemald, and people that have been filtering in, and they've been having to set up and expand more tents, or try what they can to, like, reconstruct some of the buildings, at least into basic shelters, or... So it's a little bit tough when we've had to come back so many times, and it's like, we still have the same 10 people... like, in the underground area, in that one cave, Because in my mind, and I think with like the basis of the story, I imagine it having grown larger than just what there is. Although of course there's not meant to be like a ton of survivors, but this is a little bit tough with this particular zone, I think. Activate the Tower of Babil. Are you out of your mind? That abomination transformed my friends and family into monsters. I can't even bear to look at it when I step outside. If you want to do something for us, tear the bloody thing down. I mean, he's not wrong. Like, he's not wrong on that. Fie. That tower isn't right, I tell you. All those magics. Years ago, when I lived in the provinces, the locals razed our village to the ground with the stuff. Made things appear and disappear and fly and burn. I can still see it when I close my eyes. You've done us a good turn, dear, but let's not talk about that tower any longer. It's unnatural. What do you think about us using the Tower of Babil for stuff? No, stop it! The tower is evil. It'll turn us all evil. I don't want to hear it. Leave me alone. So I think we can say that people are not taking it well. Yeah, people do not care for this idea, in fact, and want nothing to do with it. So the Tower of Babil? But what's it got to do with void scent? I can't say I understand. Still, your people have done much and more for us Garleans. If you say it's necessary, then that's good enough for me. At least one person is on board. Papaya? Papaya. Papaya, papaya, papaya. Da, 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 da. What you guys say, papaya? Whatever its present state, the Imperial Palace was once the pride of Garlemald. I mean no disrespect to you and yours, but shouldn't the Garlean people be its caretakers instead of foreigners? Though if we dared to speak thus to some of the contingent, they might make assumptions, cut our rations, or worse. No, forget I said anything, please. Not everybody's like that, okay, papaya? It's gonna be alright. Okay, who else we got? We need to go up. We need to go up and probably to where the actual, like, political meeting is being held, so. Let's go do that. Okay. It'd be so cool to be able to see this before it was all destroyed. Maybe that's the real reason that I want to see it altered or changed. I feel like Zero, I mean, there's got to be a lot that seeing this landscape kind of brings back with Zero in relation to the things that the Void experienced. Jullus is on his way with the others. I hope you found the people more receptive than we did. Well, no, I wouldn't say it wasn't great. Could have been better for sure. For sure. Arden, may I present to you Lord Naeus and Matthias, magistrates of our political council. They've been spearheading the efforts to establish a new system of government here. When we raised the subject of the Tower of Babil, they insisted that we speak no further, until joined by representatives of the Ilsavad contingent. I see Alphino and Alice have yet to arrive, though, so perhaps we should wait. Oh, this man has, he has some kind of vibe. Don't know if it's a good one, but, It doesn't matter if only some of you are present. We simply wish to make one thing perfectly clear. The tower is a manifestation of Garlean ingenuity and authority. It was once the abode of the imperial family, and it will forever bear tremendous cultural significance. It is insulting enough that we have had to suffer foreigners occupying it under the guise of rendering aid. And now you propose reactivating it. Nay, we have had enough. Now, Garlemald, we done been through a whole arc. Been through multiple arcs. This is who we chose to put in power. This is what we've learned at the end of those arcs. This. I mean, maybe they just like seized power in the aftermath. Now that the dust is settling, I don't know, but this guy sucks. The Garlemald of old may have fallen, but she fell in civil war to her own people, not to Eorzea, nor any other land. We came here to assert our unequivocal claim to our territory. Garlemald and all that lies within her bounds is beholden to no one. Well, you two can go suck an egg. That's what I have to say about that. Why is Jullus not in power at this point? Jullus for next Emperor of Garlemald, or President, or whatever equivalent, because they probably don't want to go for the whole monarchy thing again. Imperial thing again. But put this man in charge. He's doing way more than these two dingbats. These two caught in the past dingbats ever have. I do not begrudge them their hostility. They merely seek to protect their homeland. I don't know if that's how I read that situation, Varshan. That said, we must strive to reach an understanding with one another. I read this more as selfishness and the same behavior that got their whole country annihilated. We will treat with the Ilsabard contingent, if only to assert our rights. If your intentions are as benevolent as you claim, then you will agree to our demands. No, it's not about demands. We gotta change this language, or we gotta change how we communicate with one another. 'Cause this ain't gonna cut it, you Eggman. Our sovereignty is of paramount importance. On this point, there can be no concessions. There is no common ground to be found with these men. In spite of this, you would still engage with them. Well, no one likes it, but here we are. Sometimes in life, you encounter people who are idiots. No, it's never that simple. I'm just being silly. Sometimes there are people that are just so... I mean, we literally can go back and watch the Endwalker playthrough. There are people that you're so frustrated in dealing with, but yes, finding ways to deal with them and communicate with them still, on both sides, very important. So, let's see where this message takes us. Jullus is like, can we please just get out of the cold, metaphorically? Can we please? Since their excellencies are resolved to negotiate with the contingent, I will escort them to Tertium. I'll also instruct Alphino and Alcé to meet us there. Lord Metius, Lord Neus, by your leave, my comrades and I would speak with the residents of Senatus. Though the Ilsabard contingent holds the Tower of Babil, it is I who wishes for it to be reactivated, and thus I think it meet that I be present for this discussion. Yet my understanding of your people's hardships, of their hopes and desires, of their dreams for the future, is sorely lacking. In my ignorance, I would struggle to contribute. Lest you worry, I will not plead our case to the community in your absence. I wish only to identify common ground, upon which we might build a relationship that sees us overcome our differences. Very well. But know that the guards will not hesitate to escort you from the premises should they judge your actions to be inappropriate. If it's settled then, you should all head to Senatus. I'll join you there after I see their excellencies safely to Tertium. They're not excellencies. Got 'em. I'm sorry. They're excellencies. I don't know. That just makes them sound like succulent plants. I think succulent plants even have a better demeanor than those two. Hopefully they'll come around. We've dealt with snotty people before. I mean, we had all of Heavensward expansion, so we can do this. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. They want us to go to Senatus. Maybe, hold on. This was the old Senate, Senaculum Imperialis. This is just kind of the area. I wonder if they're going to take us into a little instant zone or something. Their defenses bespeak a cautious mindset, more so than Tertium. I think they are! Some sort of little expansion of the map? Hey, I mean, when I was talking about the fact that it feels so limiting, this is something that almost immediately would change that up, you know? Like, the groups that we know exist on this map and how the survivors are accumulating. Interesting. Jullus has told us all. You have Lord Naeus's permission to enter and speak with all residents, but not to petition them directly for support. Remember that. Here it is. Senatus. A temporary refuge for political dignitaries. Hence, the tight security. I am given to understand that outsiders are not normally permitted so much as a glimpse inside. We should consider ourselves fortunate to be given this opportunity. I hope it will be worth the trouble. Me too, Zero. Varshan 3. As do I, Zero. As do I. Okay, yeah, let's enter it, I guess. This is unexpected. I like that we have a little additional area to go to. Kind of rough that it's just full of the, we would assume, the wealth. Oh, it's the same. I see. It's just another, like, metro station. It's just another underground station. But, I mean, they've decorated it differently, and it definitely, I mean, to be fair, on the map up above, the entryway is the same kind of thing, and there were multiple stations around the city to navigate, so it does make sense, again, that people would have used these as, like, a bunker underneath everything that was happening up above. So I will, you know what, it's okay. I will forgive for the reuse here, although I was really hoping we might get to see some more, I don't know, like intact Garlean architecture and stuff that's more residentially. Pelagio, we know her, right? No, maybe not. It just sounded familiar. I haven't seen you before. I assume you have permission to be here. Oh, they've set a bunch of beds inside. I'm just kind of curious, so I'm just wandering. I mean, you can definitely tell that it seems like it's a little bit of a step above as far as creature comforts go. Having various things kind of sequestered off for a sense of privacy, even in the middle of crisis. The damage to the city is even more extensive than we thought. I mean, it's real bad, yeah, correct. That would be accurate. Well, let's go up and just peek in here. More desks and stuff. Who are you? Okay, so yeah, just a handful of people in here. But you could kind of imagine, you know, you can imagine. Anything else in here? No. Food stores. Ah, food and lumber, resources, supplies. I gotcha. A cook. Thank goodness for warm meals. Seriously. As we've talked about before, food is amazing. The basic design is reminiscent of Tertium, though somewhat embellished. To begin, I propose we split up and ask the residents of their views on the Ilsebar contingent and the current state of affairs. We would also do well to learn more about this enclave itself. Should you observe anything of note, pray keep it in mind. It is through open hearts and minds that I believe we may yet convince their leaders to work with us for the greater good. Zero's just gonna be like, what's wrong with you? No, I mean, are you sad? Is it sad? Sad's the right word? What's wrong with you like that, emotionally? The stockpile of assorted supplies bears markings indicating they're provided by the Ilsabard contingent, so they have been accepting resources. The Enclave is clearly reliant upon the Alliance for aid. Okay, good to know. Barrel of ceruleum. It still kills me that we're now just transporting ceruleum in, like, wooden buckets. It's supposed to be highly volatile. But I guess there has to be a way that you can make it more mass plentiful, even in the wake of an apocalyptic event, right? You recognize the large casks as the very same that you and your comrades used to transport ceruleum from Lapis Manalis. Why they are in Senatus is unclear, though. I'll talk to Pelagia again. You want to know what I think? I'm a soldier. I try not to think about politics at all. I'll say this much. Our leaders labor to preserve our culture, our way of life. What remains of it at any rate. I trust them to do what's best for Garlemald. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta know, though, when, like, parts of your history or culture, as it were, are actually really destructive and bad and need to be confronted and left behind. And sure, those things that, like, are good to preserve or to adapt to, or, like, that's, you know, there's a big discussion there to be had, I think. The furnishings are quite lavish. I'm reminded of Troya. I mean, there's a lot of wealthy people up in here, so... How do I feel about the contingent? Conflicted, to say the least. I've been tasked with the distribution of supplies, and I know as well as any that we couldn't survive without outside aid. Be that as it may, even though the Empire has collapsed, we have our pride. People don't want to be beholden to others forever, and there's no denying that it chafes to see our benefactors occupying the Imperial Palace. I mean, the Imperial Palace is a disaster nightmare zone. If we can clean it up, if we can make it nice, if we can get in there and fix it up and make it a new hub for everyone, then sure, yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Finished touring the Enclave, have you? What were you able to learn? Much the same as me, then. They accept the contingent help out of necessity, and harbor a measure of resentment. They have only themselves to blame. If they don't like the bargain, they should reject it. How many times must I tell you? It's absolutely out of the question. A conflict? Let's get up in there. What's going on? We were wondering the very same. We came running when we heard shouting. Is aught the matter? No, I was just trying to explain. Maybe you can clear this up. The contingent has made a reasonable request, but this man insists that it's impossible. It concerns the Magitech weapons which run rampant through Regio Urbanissima. Every time we deliver supplies here, we have to dispatch extra men to defend against potential attacks. To address the issue once and for all, we've proposed the elimination of the machina that loiter near the supply route. But you heard him. They refused to even consider it. The magistrates have already spoken on this matter. Rampant or no, those war machina are Garlean assets. Furthermore, who's to say they are as dangerous as you attest? It's been suggested that this could be a pretense to scavenge Magitech material for your own ends. I know not if that is the case, but the fact remains, we cannot allow you to destroy them. More speculation by the magistrates, I presume. Ridiculous. But they have spoken. And unless we want to inflame tensions further, there's not we can do. Do you have an idea? No, okay. No, just hat tip. How complicated relations become when not grounded in a clear and equitable arrangement. An equitable arrangement? Of course! Well, I do understand the difficulty of your position. As a soldier, you must do your duty and obey your superiors. I have an idea, but I must first speak with Commander Lucia. May I take charge of this matter? But by all means. Vrtra's like, I'm old, I'm ancient, I've watched a million people sit on the throne that like are political proxies for me and my hand. I can do this, I've learned from a lot of them. Including Ooohhh. Let us return to Camp Broken Glass, where we might discuss a solution I believe will satisfy all parties. Now here's a thought. Here's a thought. Hear me out with my dragon lore and thoughts and ideas. So we know that when a dragon's purpose changes, at least in the vast majority of average dragons, as we know, their physical bodies and manifestations oftentimes change in response to that. Like, they almost have a hand in shaping their own form, their own ethereal or elemental alignment, affinity. And while there are parts of that process that are more like magical-logical, I guess you could say, like biological magic, there are very much examples in the canon of dragons and their own kind of thoughts, processes, drives, desires, almost actively, even if subconsciously, manifesting those changes. For example, L2 in the Reconstruction questline, who gets little like people hands and becomes more bipedal because of her passion for creating and crafting, and these things that she sees modeled by people, that kind of makes her shift in her own physical manifestation. I don't know how far that extends into draconic adulthood, like if there's just a period of window of hundreds of years where you're more flexible and susceptible to change, and then as you settle into your form, you're more fixed in that form. And we also don't know how that changes 100% for things like the First Brood, who are in and of themselves unique. But it's fascinating to me that one of the things the dragons long struggled with, perhaps, was peacemaking. Politics in that kind of way, right? Because they were an incredibly powerful, primal, war-faring kind of civilization. Not that they necessarily were driven by war early on, but in their conflict and the evolution and escalation of that conflict with the Omicron, right? The Omicron targeted them because they were so fearsome as far as their physical prowess went and their magical prowess and might went, because they were a big threat, right? So it's curious to think about, all of this to say, it's curious to think about the possibility of whether or not something like the First Brood, who do seem, I mean, they have magic greater than any of the dragons, and you'd think that if Varshan was able to actually morph into a human form, he would have done that versus something like a simulacrum. So that kind of large-scale physical change, definitely not possible, it seems. But an interesting thought that if he has taken such a peaceable route, and if he has started to learn things like diplomacy, right? I wonder if that would affect his physical body at all. His vessel, in a sense, and his appearance, and maybe not. I think because they're so ancient, probably not, and he's got other ways to do it, but something that just kind of cropped up in my head there that I'm curious about, like, if there's any possibility for that for the other draconic figures we see. I don't know. Varshan, let us return to Camp Broken Glass, where we might discuss a solution I believe will satisfy all parties. I just love dragons. Hi, Rook the Dragon Nerd reporting for duty. Have we talked about dragons yet today? No? Well, let's do it. Let's fix that immediately. Okay, let's see if this will help the situation at all. Go up to Garlemald. There's a little bit more time treading water in Garlemald than I thought there would be this patch. I was kind of hoping we would be like straight back into the void action, but they do, I mean, we have to wrap up a lot of arcs coming out of Endwalker. So I don't think that like any of this has felt silly or like nonsensical, right? I think it's just tough because I'm always like, let's really get into it. Like, let's hit that action. Let's hit that, you know, building sense of momentum. Let's start feeling like things are really taking off. And I'm sure that'll happen here towards the end, but as always, it's interesting to see how they kind of like balance the narrative each patch and how much weight they put on certain elements. And this definitely feels like more of a lull. Let's go... We're in the right path. I think we're just going back straight to where Lucia and everybody are. I haven't done a lot of the quests around here, but I need to. I need to do all the quests in Elpis first, though. That's my next big project. He seems awfully confident. Leave this to me, my friend. What, are we gonna, like... I don't know, shut down the Machina and then repurpose them as part of like a trade to the surviving Garleans, or what do you suppose he has in mind? Who is this person again? That's Ascidian's boyfriend. I have completed mine inspection of the tower. Thou shalt be pleased to hear that the transference of ether will pose no difficulty. Well, good. You are returned. With glad tidings, I hope. Okay. Yep, we got everybody. Welcome back, all of you. I pray there have been positive developments in your efforts to appeal to the Garlean community. Mayhap not yet, but there is a method by which I believe all stand to gain. As satrap, I intend to propose a trade agreement between Vrtra and the people of Garlemald. A trade agreement? Oh, like having them give us the Machina in exchange for the goods so they don't feel like they're just, like, they feel like they have a currency or they have a bartering chip. Okay. Okay. Please continue. The people of this nation have lived through its collapse and more, yet they have chosen to remain, for it is their home. That they have been able to survive thus far is thanks to the Ilsabard contingent, or rather, in less flattering terms, they are entirely at your mercy. Despite your noble intentions, this one-sided relationship has fueled feelings of frustration and resentment. 'Tis no surprise then that some Garleans are loath to engage with foreigners, for fear of indebting themselves further or surrendering more of their already limited autonomy. That is why I wish to present them with an equitable arrangement, one that will restore to them a sense of agency after having been forced to rely on charity. Jullus is like, dang it, I might be falling in love with this beautiful dragon man too. Easier said than done. What exactly do you have in mind? Long have Garlemald and Vrtra abided by a treaty of non-interference. Freely have we traded with one another, and I wish but to continue in this tradition. We would provide your people with such supplies as you require, in return for which you would grant us leave to use the Tower of Babil, as well as share your magitech resources and expertise. As we become more reliant upon your technologies, we will of course require more cerurium to fuel them. This you possess in abundance, and for it you will be duly compensated. Vrtra's culture will be enriched by your magitech wonders, and our ever-increasing demand for your wares will see Garlemald grow wealthy and prosperous. Only when both sides keep the interests of the other in mind can an equitable relationship be forged. 'Tis a principle I once thought I understood, but have come to appreciate all the more in recent days, thanks to the sage counsel of a friend from beyond the rift. You did that! Look at you! Making a difference and helping out! In your own amazing way! Your Excellency, thank you for your careful consideration of Garlemald's future. Though I cannot speak for every Garlean, I myself see no reason to object to your proposal. I mean, this is something that's really interesting because technology and technological advancements have not necessarily been kept from a lot of Eorzea, but the major advancements in those fields really did come about because of Garlemald, right? And because they had this empire and it was their greatest strength, their greatest weapon, and their greatest tool, they didn't go out of their way to, furnish people with all of their devices, all of their technology. And while the world was dependent upon ceruleum in many ways, which was a foundation of a lot of their empire and their wealth because they had no other natural resources up here, the way that a lot of the rest of the world used ceruleum was not even as advanced as how Garlemald is using it, because many of those other nations also had magic to supplement. They had many other ways that they had overcome the quandaries of day-to-day life. But in this day and age, if technology was once something that Garlemald kind of hoarded and used as its strength to oppress others, then sharing that to the world and sharing that technology to everyone, perhaps opening a door so that more awareness of even things like magic and stuff could once again come in not as a threat, would enhance both in many, many ways, and yes, drive more demand for the very thing that they use, ceruleum. Of course, that means that they have to be willing to give up that monopoly on technological might. But as it is, Cid and the Ironworks already exist. That technology has found other ways, even from defectors, to kind of disperse to the world. It was taught to many people who now, likely freed from the yoke of Garlemald, are now going back to their homelands. So to instead of trying to hold on to it with their dying breaths, but instead to turn it into something that might give them monetary might, is actually very clever. And I like this as far as a plot turn goes, and a way to kind of work this in and strengthen and empower Garlemald while also giving them ties to the world again. I think that's cool. Indeed, if Vrtra were to take the initiative, other nations may follow suit and seek to normalize trade relations with us. If you see the sense in my proposal, then I ask you to join me in the negotiations at Tertium. Your support may be instrumental in winning over Lord Nias and Metius. By all means, go with them. I have matters here well in hand. I have learned all that I may regarding the tower's operation, so I too shall hie me to Tertium. Okay, Grandpa. We'll see you there. Okay. Let's go. Once we finish this up, we should be heading to the void. We should be heading to all the stuff. I'm invisible. To actually be confronting, heading towards our trial and back in the void and confronting whatever the culmination of this is going to be. It has felt a little bit well, I don't know. How have you, I think I asked this maybe even in recent stuff, how you've all felt about the four fiends and how they were handled. But, I mean, feel free to leave a comment, because it has felt a bit at the forefront, that journey into the void and the voidal storyline was so prominent in the narrative. And we had things like that new little zone and all the other stuff, and the two new zones, technically, because one expanded on that dungeon map, and then the other one was Zero's domain, which we haven't been back to yet. But it's something where a lot of that has taken, not a backseat, but has been a little bit less at the forefront now that we have been moving more into things like Zero exploring this world and wrapping up the ends of Endwalker before we start this new journey, even though technically Endwalker was supposed to be the end, right? I feel like they couldn't help themselves but put in a little bit more of an epilogue in a sense. So on one hand, it kind of pulls against the momentum of that Void story, and I think because of it, robs us of a bit of time with the Four Fiends and the building of the like political and lore environment around the Void and its history. But it also doesn't feel completely detached from where we have been and where we're going, which I also really appreciate in equal measure. So it's not like I necessarily think that it's a bad thing. It is just interesting that, like, even heading here to our climax with the Four Fiends and Golbez, we still have spent all of this time in the patch thus far just here, not even dealing with the Void stuff, not bringing to a culmination those threads specifically. So I'm really curious about how much longer, like, the Voidal part of this will be, and if it's not going to be quite as hard of a cutoff as we thought, if it's really kind of setting the stage again for like a larger expansion, or stuff that might even be continuing on in the rest of the patch cycle, despite this being the end of the Golbez Four Fiends kind of thing. We'll see. I don't know. The story balance, I think, has been very good in the patch cycle, especially because they had a lot to contend with and a lot of things to wrap up following Endwalker. Can we finally begin the negotiations? Yes. If you're ready. A crowd you may have brought, but numbers will not intimidate us. The Tower of Babil is ours by right, and nothing you do will convince us otherwise. Rest assured, it is not our intent to infringe upon the rights of the people of Garlemald. Let us instead discuss the future. As the satrap of Vrtra, I wish to establish a new trade agreement between our nations. I'll save you the recap. And finish. The aid we presently receive will not last forever, my lords. Sooner or later, we must stand on our own 2 feet. But to do so, we must secure a means to replenish our coffers, and this proposed agreement presents a rare opportunity. 'Tis true, we do not want for magitech and ceruleum, and foreign currency will be needed to procure such things as we lack. It would depend on the precise terms, but I can see the merits. What? I can't believe what I'm hearing. You served the Emperor, were a proud patriot, yet now you entertain selling national resources like a common merchant? Like you, I weep for what we have lost. But if we are to rebuild Garlemald, we must make use of what precious few assets remain to us. Nonsense, utter nonsense. You are a traitor, Naeus, and there will be a reckoning. Oh yes, when the people of Sonatus learn of this, they will cry out for your blood. Well, go get killed, I guess. Hope you get smushed by one of the magitech you refuse to acknowledge as a threat. Bye! Lord Metius, wait! It isn't safe out there. Or maybe we'll go save him and he won't get smushed. Right, we're a hero. We're a hero. I should probably do hero stuff. We'll save him and he'll be grateful, right? An embarrassing display. A man of Metius' station should have the capacity to keep his emotions in check. While I am thrilled... Oh, hold on. While I am thrilled Lord Naeus was willing to consider my proposal, I am worried about Lord Metius. I had to switch accents for a second. It didn't quite happen. To the best of my knowledge, Lord Metius is a civil servant with no combat experience. Should he meet with misfortune, he may fare poorly. I fear for Lord Metius. I wish somebody could help, because I don't know if anybody's around who can, though. I'm not surprised. Some people cannot be moved by mere words. That's why you gotta move them by action. We'll do it. We'll do it. Concern is writ plain on Jullus's face. It's far too dangerous for a civilian to be outside alone. We must go after Lord Metius. Let us leave matters here in Maximus' care while the rest of us join in the search. Oops. Oh no, I skipped it! Hold on, did it show up? Here we go. If Lord Metius is bound for Senatus, we may be able to catch up to him in Regio Urbanissima. I pray he has not come to harm. Let's go find that stinky Eggman. You know, sometimes people just gotta be difficult. So you gotta be the bigger person in this situation. Hopefully this helps convince him. But I think this is a great plan. You love to see great plans coming from our good boy Varshan. So we'll go save this guy. It'll probably be fine. He'll probably realize the danger of the Magitech. And hopefully it'll all come about in the most positive as possible outcome. Oh, right. Oh, geez, I'm playing Red Mage. Whoop. But a hot second since I pulled out my Red Mage. I've been working on actually, I just started leveling Dark Knight because I'm almost through Omni 90. I'm getting so close right now. So close. But we just have a few left, a few stragglers. So I eventually settled on Dark Knight and we got a few melee we gotta do, so. I've been playing a lot of those recently. A lot of those. I'm alive. I wonder who could have kept you alive. Who did it? Who was it? Maybe, I don't know, like maybe.
Praise the sisters, you are safe.
What's he gonna sound like? That's the real question. Is he gonna sound just like the voice I did? I'm sure.
Don't think I'm indebted to you. I never asked for your help.
He actually does! Got like a whiny voice for sure.
You love Garlemald dearly, Lord Messias. That much is plain. But you're not alone in that. We all mourn what has become of our homeland. Bristle at having to rely upon outsiders simply to survive the cold. Even now, I struggle with fear and uncertainty. Day after day, I ask myself, what is right? Where do we go from here?
Jullus is really good. He's a very good character.
I've yet to find the answers. But I won't stop looking nonetheless. And I won't avert my gaze from our grim reality.
That's right. This is a culmination
Is
of
there
his
hope for us?
character arc. There's hope.
Aye. So long as we live.
Okay, Eggman's just scared. Can't be as mean to him anymore.
Garlemald lies in ruins, but the bonds between us will never be broken. We are the chain that connects generations past and future. You and I, it's links. Help us, Lord Metius, for all we have been and for what we may yet become. Please.
Using the Garlean logo, those three like diamonds are the literal chains. They're the links. For those who might not know.
To be lectured by the younger, it ill becomes a man of my station. I will rejoin the talks at Tertium. Might I trouble you to escort me?
Yay!
Erwipard, I apologize for my discourtesy. I owe you my life, and I thank you.
No, that wasn't so hard, now was it? There you
Jullus,
go.
Wait. I'd like a word. With you as well. I'm to stay close, after all.
Be like my little shadow.
Worry not, we shall see the magistrate safely back to Tertium.
Thanks, friends.
What is it?
You bound that man with trust, didn't you? That's why he did not require coercion to return.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer to what trust is. Arden's just like, humor her. Explain it.
Shall we walk, perhaps? Chilly, standing around here.
I love this too because this is such a lovely parallel to the walk we take with him earlier. But now he's somebody who's imparting wisdom, having been through his own struggles, having been through his own mistrust of what this is and how we built trust with him. That is some fine storytelling right there. Those are some dramatic parallels and I love them.
So that's how Zero came to join you. Still, I'm not sure I'm qualified to explain something like trust. I wouldn't describe myself as a sociable person. Before all this, any free time I had, I spent looking after my brother and sister. As for the magistrate, I only told him what's been on my mind of late. But I wouldn't have done so, I think, if it weren't for the twins' influence.
Yeah, we raised them, right?
Trust is infectious, in a manner of speaking. When someone believes in you, it makes you want to believe in them, in others, in yourself. Perhaps it's because the magistrate felt that earnestness that he gave us a chance. As I did, after I was caught trying to steal provisions from the enemy. Trust comes easy in such company.
Yeah, tip your head down,
Little
hide your
wonder
feelings.
my world is devoid of it. No one trusts in you, and so you trust in no one. And round the wheel turns.
But some people trust in Zero. Well, sort of, in their own void-scenty way. Hiding in the domain. Although whether or not they trust that Zero will protect them is perhaps a different thing. They might just be thinking they're hiding there, which is also possible. But I don't think it's such a far leap to go from we are hiding here and hoping we don't get found to we are protected here and choose to remain, you know? Flashback? Flashback cutscene?
During the Contra Memoria, we had already come to judge one another based on strength and usefulness.
I get so excited when it's time for flashbacks.
You either used or were used. Those who rejected this rule didn't survive. My mother wanted to save the world, to fulfill the hopes of Memoria's good and true. After she died, I carried on her mission alone.
Alone? Didn't you have anyone to help you?
Almost. 2 men tried just the once. A swordsman and a mage, whom I met when passing through a village. They had saved the people there from corrupted Memoriates.
Is it? Because we saw in the trailer, I'm trying to remember, like, what was just community speculation? The possible speculation that Blondie was maybe Golbez? Maybe? Dark Knight's sword. So that would tie us to, like, Shadowbringers. Whereas we do have the, like, Paladin iconography for Endwalker with Zero. So it could be like a hero equivalent. We don't know either, again, who the shard was on this particular planet, or if like each of the different reflections even has an Azem shard on like each one, right? We don't, I mean, you would assume, but whether or not they're like reincarnated at the same time or whatever it is, no idea. I'm still on the hopium because I was saying, I was like, I think the reason is I've had time to reflect that I've hoped 0 might be that for us is because, one, I would just love to see like a you know, feminine aspect for our meteor equivalent, and I would lose my mind if we were like at the next fan fest and they did the trailer and it wasn't meteor, it was comet, and we got to, for the first time in 10 plus years of Final Fantasy, see a feminine protagonist up on the screen, or more feminine protagonist, I guess I should say, would be so exciting and so cool. So that's my own personal thing, but that's not to say that I think it's the only way they could go, or even the surefire way that they are going to go with it. So it is very possible that like maybe they're trying to draw a parallel here with something like this was the Warrior of Light equivalent. I don't know. Interesting too that the figure that's up top is so heavily armored and yet their head is kind of cut off in this. We'll do more of the cutscene, but just some thoughts that popped into my head.
When they learned our enemies were the same, they seemed heartened. They claimed to be soldiers of a kingdom called Baron, and were traveling the realm in search of a means to end the Contra Memoria. They invited me to join them. I refused. How could I not, having learned the lessons of my world? Those who would work with others always have their own motives. I would not place myself at their mercy. I would not be forced to submit. I expected some manner of outburst, some show of frustration at having failed to deceive me. But they simply watched me walk away. I didn't know what to make of it then, but now... perhaps they shared a bond of trust. Perhaps they were the last ones left who dared.
I guess it could be that like one of... well, the 4 fiends, as far as we know, weren't traveling companions. I have yet to fully record, because I wanted to wait until after Golbez to see if they had a post lore quest for him too, and then do all of those like void lore quests together for a video here on YouTube. But I wonder if like maybe anybody we're seeing here is like Rubicante, or because it did seem to be a sense of loyalty, although I think the 4 fiends technically came to him after the shift and started serving him after the shift, because then he empowered them, right? So interesting here. Maybe a failed attempt at recruiting somebody for something like our Warrior of Light adventuring party. Maybe they weren't really the heroes they seemed to be.
Perhaps they hoped I was like them too. Perhaps it was just an offer and nothing more. I continued fighting alone, but ultimately I was undone. Overwhelmed by enemies that had banded together. I was cold, in pain, wishing desperately that someone would save me. And as I lay there in solitude, I felt it happen. The breaking of our world. Darkness washed over me, and I was swept into the rift. When I finally managed to return, it was to a world forever transformed. My home, now filled with abominations. I had a chance to learn about trust, and forsook it.
Well, you learn now. It's never just a make or break. There's always more possibilities if we let ourselves...
I never had the power to save my home single-handed. I should have accepted their invitation. Had I joined them as I've joined you, I might not have had to face the end of the world alone. But it's all history now. No amount of reflection or regret will change our present reality.
But we might be able to change the future.
Whatever may have happened in the past, you're still here, Zero. Alive.
That little
So long as
head
you're
tilt,
alive,
like, am
There
I?
will always be hope, no matter how bad things get. What you couldn't do yesterday, you might still do today. Think about it. It's plain that you've forged bonds with those around you. If you didn't feel that in some sense, would you have risked your life as you did for a meager ration of boots? I trust you too, for what it's worth.
This cute, though. This cute. And some very needed messages, you know?
Here it is again.
That feeling.
The fire that burned in my breast when you came to my rescue. The urge to weep, though there is no sorrow. If this is trust, then what must I do? How do I answer it?
Get in here. The only way to answer it is a big ol' hug. It's hug time. We're gonna hug it out, and then it's gonna feel better. You can cry a little bit if you need. It's okay. You can hide your head under the hat or use it as a tissue. But you can get in my arms directly into them. No, not a handshake, Final Fantasy XIV. A hug. I need a bona fide, get in my arms, full on embrace. But as we know from anime and from the limited graphical animation aspects of Final Fantasy XIV, holding hands or touching hands can also be one of the most intimate gestures. I'm pretty sure that's why every romance anime ever makes such a big deal about holding hands for the first time. So fine, we can hand hug if we have to, but in my mind, I want all of you to know, and I want to all be on the same page with all of you, that this is a hug that's happening. No matter what the animation says to the contrary. How do you respond to it? I mean, however you like is good. But I imagine she's going to offer us a handshake, right? Either way. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. But I do want some physical contact. But maybe she doesn't want physical contact. And that's okay too. We can still have a... I'm gonna leave it to her. It's her choice how she wants to express this. Okay? Okay. However you like. A hug. The answer is a hug. Or if not into physical contact, then...
Give me your hand.
Head hat, you just tip at each other.
It's not something you do constantly, mind. A friend is a friend regardless.
A friend. So that's what it means.
Oh no, they came for
Someone
me.
you trust.
Oh. That's what it means. Yeah, that's one part of what it means. That's me imagining a hug. Just in my soul. No, get him out of here. Oh, maybe the hand extension. Oh, God, fine. Zenos needed a friend too, okay? So, fine. But on my full journey, I couldn't even, the thing is that I'm the kind of human being that if Zenos like genuinely looked at me and we had like a really, in real life, we had a moment and he was like, Brooke, I've been so sad and lonely my whole life. And I was like, Zenos, I did a whole rant on you in Endwalker. Did like 70 rants on you in Endwalker. I protest you with every fiber of my being. He'd be like, take my hand. And I'd be like, fine. I'd do it. And I'd probably cry about it. And then I'd hug him. I would do it. That's the kind of human being I am. No matter how much I complain, I'm just very verbose as a human being. But I have very soft heart. And I would hug him. And in the end, whether it was Zero reaching out, whether it was him, whatever it was, I don't want anybody to be alone and never have somebody take their hand. Even if it's Stinky Xenos. Even if it's Eggman. I stand by that. So, I do know in the trailer there was a glimpse of Xenos though, and I have no idea how that's gonna shake out, but when I first met Zero, I wasn't sure what to make of her forthright to a fault nature, but now I understand she's simply an honest soul to the core. Yeah, she is, she's good. Yeah, she is, she's very good, and I love her. Thank you. I feel at last as though I found the answers I sought, and I owe it all to you and Jullus. Right then. I expect the others have already arrived back at Tertium. We should join them. Well, I'm glad we can sort out what friendship is. And you know, it's a process we also have to learn and redefine and figure out even as we go on with our lives. It's not like friendship is just perfectly cut and dry, and there's many ways that trust and all the facets of relationships express themselves, but it's a really good first step. And I want that beautiful, beautiful friend to just be happy no matter what. Full glad am I to see everyone returned, and none worse for the wear. Various representatives of the Garlean community are gathered here this very moment. I dare say this is a fine opportunity to announce the trade agreement. You've read the memorandum. I trust you find the terms acceptable. I do. And, Nias, oh, please forgive my disgraceful conduct earlier. I am ashamed not only of my behavior, but of placing the burden of negotiation solely on your shoulders in my absence. You should know that, when we brought up the subject of the tower's reactivation to the people of Tapper's Den, some reacted quite strongly. Once we explained that it would be to prevent another Voidsent invasion, however, they were more receptive. It's fair to say the recent episode is still fresh in their minds. I tagged along to deliver a supply of ceruleum. Have to say, I didn't expect to see such a large crowd. Even the stuffy Imperials who normally keep to themselves in Senatus are here. Friendship for all. My friends and countrymen, lend me your ears. I am pleased to inform you all on this joyous occasion that we, the people of Garlemald, have entered into a trade agreement with Vrtra. To inaugurate our accord, we intend to grant the individuals before you access to the Tower of Babil. In return, Vrtra will provide us with supplies, which shall be equally distributed amongst the settlements of our nation. Let me be clear on one point. This is not an act of charity, but trade. A bargain struck between equals, rooted in trust and respect. And it marks a significant step towards rebuilding our nation and regaining true independence. Vrtra holds Garlean technology and ingenuity in the highest esteem. It is my hope that through this agreement, our peoples will enjoy a mutually beneficial relationship for years to come. Now then, we bid you gather round to hear the particulars, that you might convey them to those elsewhere. Rabble, 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 rabble. Yeah, get up in there. Learn about the agreement and stuff. so burdened by hardship and trauma were the people of Garlemald that they were unable to imagine a brighter future. To be recognized as equals, as a nation with something of value to offer others, that validation alone is enough to rekindle their hope. 'Tis by virtue of this partnership that we may access the Tower of Babil, a rather timely development given the Aether tank's impending arrival. Once the tower's stores have been replenished, we need but await Ishtola's signal to channel the energy to the moon, yes? Then you can leave that and everything else on this end to me and Alphino. No need to worry. Devote all your energies to the mission in the void. As ever, I am in your debt. Yeah, you're thinking about how far you've come since you talked to Alice out in the snow. You are good friends. Yeah, that's right. The friendship lessons are going swimmingly. Alphino and Alice, so just a little report on our end. Oh yeah, and also we're gonna stop this incursion from the void. But the friendship thing, really the greatest hurdle. So we've worked through that. We've established some clear terms about how that works. We're still exploring the more nuanced aspects of it. And we have done a hand hug. So, you know, it's been pretty good so far. It's been pretty good so far. Good friends, eh? And coming from her, you know she's not just saying it to be nice. Both Radz-at-Han and Garlemald stand to benefit greatly from this agreement. It may well mark the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship. Moments like these give me hope that we still have a place in this world. I'm not wrong to call them that, am I? Friends. No, you nailed it. You nailed it! Garlean technology shall enrich my people's lives and empower them to achieve new feats. I am particularly eager to see what our alchemists are inspired to create. Yes! Technological. That is gonna be a wild time, and some amazing things are gonna come of it, I have no doubt. Okay, to the void. Here we go. It's time. We gotta be coming up on it, right?
Let us take a moment to review matters as they stand.
A little recap, in case you took a break and you had to come back.
Stores of ether, we may now channel the requisite energy unto the moon via the Tower of Babil. Our work on the star is complete.
So time to get off the star or to a different star.
However, we have yet to receive word from Y'shtola as to the state of the lunar preparations.
A ritual to open the gate, and measures to forestall a void-sent invasion. Neither task is simple nor quickly completed. She would doubtless benefit from our assistance.
Yeah, I like how we've been down here doing the easy stuff and Y'shtola meanwhile is on the moon surrounded by rabbits. Like, so we just need to channel the largest void portal that has ever been conceived by man, somehow tear open a bit of a rift to another reflection of our star, and do all of this without destroying our present world. This is the kind of challenge I live for. Like, I can just imagine it. But she's been doing all the hard work.
The very thing I was about to propose. Let us join her above and lend what aid we may.
It's go time! You know it's go time when the fist bump? What would you call that? The fist bump?
However, Y'shtola did bid me relay a message to thee. As thou art well aware, a key objective of our mission is the extraction of thy sister Azhdaya from the void. Held captive for millennia and divested of an eye, she is like to be severely weakened. To make good her escape, she shall require aid. Aid that is best provided by a fellow great worm.
Get in there, save your sister. Yeah, that's you. It's your time to shine.
My true form.
Yeah, we love your true form. We love all your forms.
Very well. Like our sire, We great worms are capable of traversing the great expanse. The journey will take some time, but I shall take myself to the moon.
Fly your butt to the moon. Fly him to the moon and let him save his sister among the stars.
To begin with, I shall return this vessel to Radzadhan, that I may have both my eyes.
Yeah, strong. Slow walk.
And until such time as we find Ajdaya, I would entrust her eye to your keeping.
I will guard it with my life and every other life of every other shard and reflection that I possess. Even those I have not yet collected back into my being. Though a little bit worrisome if Golbez decides to like use it against us or something. Put it in our butt pocket. Our infinite butt of holding.
We shall contact you via link pearl once all is in place on the moon. You need but follow Ishtola's instructions.
Understood. We'll be ready.
Okay.
Take care, Zero.
Oh, she's just like, smile.
It will be the briefest of homecomings. I'll be back before you know it.
Oh, please don't be an ominous line like that's not gonna happen. But she's excited to come back. She would see everybody again because she loved them.
In mare lamentorum, then. Go well.
She's starting to love them. I don't want to rush things, you know, but... Okay! At last, we've finished all the necessary world supplementation and building, and it's time to go to the moon. You take care as well, Arden. Will do. Have fun, babies. The trade agreement discussions do not require our input, so Alice and I are free to attend to the Tower of Babil without distractions. Leave the tower to us. Okay. I trust you. That's gonna become like a new thing in the community, isn't it? Being like, trust you, friend. Trust you. If it doesn't, we should make it a thing. We should just all collectively agree to that.